There's an unspoken rule when it comes to landscaping. You plant trees keeping in mind how big they will be when they're full grown, not how big they are when you plant them, right? It seems obvious in one sense, and yet I don't know how many times I've seen out in the wide world, and even times when I've messed up and planted something that started out small and put them too close together, whether it was flowers in my garden or trees in a field that end up having problems when they get too big and grow larger than you expected. But if you're paying attention, if you're thinking fourth dimensionally, thinking in terms of the future, well, you can plant a tree leaving lots of room for it and saying it's going to be big enough one day. We will sit in its shade. We will need to have room for it to grow big and large, even if it only starts out as a small sapling or maybe even only as an acorn or a maple seed. Importantly, the followers of Jesus are called to do the same thing, to think in light of what will be, in light of God's promised future, in light of, in other words, God's new creation. We're going to hear this coming Sunday this beautiful image from the end of the last book in our Bibles, from the second to last chapter in the book of Revelation. And God just flat out says, I'm making a new heaven and a new earth, a whole new creation where people from every nation and language and tongue are all gathered together, and God comes to be their God and wipes away their tears, dwells with us once and for all, and makes all things new. And importantly, to be followers of Jesus now is to be people who live in advance of that, almost like people who plant a small sapling knowing that one day it will be a large enough tree you can sit in its shade. And that what we do now with our lives, the ways we act now, are called to be in light of that future reality, which is how we hold together the other words we're going to hear this coming Sunday from Jesus, who calls his disciples, even on the worst moment he has, on his darkest hour, moments before his arrest on Maundy Thursday. Jesus tells his disciples he's giving them a new commandment to love one another, and says, this is how the world will know that you're my disciples, by the love that you are known for. That's not just a random last-minute commandment from Jesus' perspective. Love is what it looks like to anticipate God's new creation. In God's new creation, love is the order of the day, right? Enemies are reconciled, tears are wiped away, there's no more cause for sickness or crying or mourning or death, and nobody has to kill or hate anyone anymore. To be a follower of Jesus is to be ahead of the curve, to know that one day that new creation will grow full and big and broad, and in the meantime, we live in anticipation of that future. We become people who anticipate now what will be the case when God makes all things new, and love is the key to it. Join us this Sunday as we hold together Jesus' call for us to love people radically and publicly now as our way of living into the future, of knowing that one day the seedling that is planted will become a big, full-grown tree. We're just living in light of that promised future now. Join us as we get ready for this conversation this coming Sunday. See you then.